Benchmark, the voice of business. Presented by LMD.
On this week's edition of Benchmark, in our lead story, we look at the nation's finances, where inflation appears to be under control. Then in our feature segment, we turn the spotlight on Jayantha Dhanapala, former UN Under Secretary General for Disarmament Affairs, for his views on corruption and its debilitating effects. And we wrap up this edition by talking to LMD columnist Samantha Amarasinghe about the economic outlook for the second half of 2011. That's the lineup for Benchmark this week. Hello and welcome to Benchmark. I'm Savitri Rodrigo. We start our show with news on the economic front here at home. There's been some respite on the inflation front, with the Colombo Consumers Price Index decreasing moderately to 151.2 in June from 151.5 a month earlier. That's according to the Central Bank of Sri Lanka. The year-on-year movement in inflation, we are told, has fallen sharply from 8.2% in May to 7.1%, although on an annual average basis, the rate at which costs are rising spiked marginally by 0.1% to 6.7% in June. CBSL notes that the Department of Census and Statistics has revised the CCPI's weight structure so that the index reflects expenditure patterns of households in urban areas in the District of Colombo in the Household Income and Expenditure Survey of 2006-07 instead of the 2002 version. As expected, there were slight decreases in food prices in June in almost all varieties of vegetables, fruit, coconut oil, rice, dal, chicken and eggs due to improvements in supply. But the central bank states that housing, water, fuel, clothing and footwear especially cost more in June. The big picture sees the inflation front as being stable and hovering at around 6 to 7% on the year-on-year on an average basis in the main since November last year. Meanwhile, on the 7th of July, CBSL's Monetary Board resolved to maintain policy interest rates at current levels. So, repurchase and reverse repurchase rates will remain at 7 and 8.5% respectively, at least until the 19th of August, when it meets again. The board notes that there's been rapid growth in demand for credit from the private sector and that average broad money expanded by nearly 18% in the first 5 months of this year. On the tourism front, the heat is on in sunny Sri Lanka and travellers are flocking to our shores in larger numbers. In June, the arrivals count was a fifth higher than in the same month last year, and the year-to-date aggregate at 30th June was nearly 37% ahead of the first half in 2010. Sri Lanka hosted some 53,000 visitors in June and more than 380,000 in the first 6 months of this year. As LMD stated in its July edition, the nation is on track to meet its 750,000 arrivals target for 2011. And given the rate of acceleration thus far, Sri Lanka could end up hosting more than 900,000 visitors this year. We go in for a commercial break now, and when we come back, we speak to former UN Under Secretary General for Disarmament Affairs Jayantha Dhanapala on the scourge of corruption in Sri Lanka. Don't miss it.